right, thank you for joining us. I'm Ernest Lunning with Colorado Politics, here today with State Representative Scott Bottoms, who's one of a whole lot of Republicans running to be governor of Colorado. He's going to be answering questions prepared by AARP Colorado. We'll be asking the same questions to the other candidates who are also running to take over from term-limited Governor Jared Polis after next year's election. Representative Bottoms, please take a minute to introduce yourself and tell us why you're running.
Yeah, so state representative from House District 15, east side of Colorado Springs. And this is my second term as representative. And I am running for governor for a handful of reasons, but I could say very simply that I really feel like I'm supposed to. This is a spiritual journey for me. And but the other side is I've just seen so many attacks on so many arenas of our society. And there's not any metric right now in the state of Colorado that is in positive direction. Everything, crime, everything is headed in a negative direction. And so that's a major force behind me running.
All right, I appreciate it. And the AARP has some questions. The first one involves caregiving. Okay, new data shows there's more than 1 million Coloradans who are family caregivers in Colorado. What kind of policies or legislation would you champion to ease caregiver burdens?
Well, one of the things that I'm looking at, big idea that's long-term into governor candidacy, would be to eliminate property taxes completely. Mm-hmm. I've already got a bill put together that I'm going to submit this session that is to eliminate property taxes for seniors over 65. That doesn't necessarily directly affect the caregivers, but it could. It depends on the individual's setup in their household and however it works. Some of this is also we're going to have to deal with some of the rising cost in healthcare, and specifically within the arena of 65 and older.
Livable communities. Older Coloradans are not immune to housing affordability issues. What policy solutions will you seek as governor to help Coloradans age 50 and older find and keep affordable housing?
Yes, sir. So like I said, the property tax is a big one. We'll do everything we can to eliminate that, or specifically for not the 50 and older, but the 65 and older.
Okay.
But also we have to take regulations down. A lot of people don't realize that there's actually about a 5.2% supply more than demand right now in housing. But we're seeing an interesting thing across the entire country, not just Colorado, is the demand are holding back and they're not buying. Even though the supply is rising, the cost of living and then the taxes, property taxes, everything that we see coming from the state legislature for the last 15 years is hurting property owners, anybody in any demographic, but specifically that 50 and older, because they buy that extra home after they retire and they rent out their original. We've passed so many laws that directly attack them that it's almost impossible. Many of them have either sold their properties or moved into Airbnbs. And that's hurting our economy, and that's hurting the housing market greatly.
Well, thank you. Our next question concerns healthy living. And what do you see as the biggest public health challenge facing Colorado right now? And how would you address that as governor?
The interesting thing about the biggest public health challenge right now is actually mental health. Our biggest issue is mental health. It's not actually physical health. Okay. But we've also had 2 insurance companies say they're not going to carry anybody in Colorado anymore, that they're not going to, no new policies in the last 6 months. They've just left the state. Well, this is because of our policies, controlling policies. And again, that comes out of the House. I'm a Republican, and so I have a small voice in our system right now, but I'm going to change that when I'm governor. The big thing with the governor's race is that we can address the mental health issue. Mm-hmm. Our state house has been taking hundreds of millions of dollars away from mental health arena, and I believe part of the reason is because our biggest mental health issue in the state of Colorado right now is the transgender issue. Mm-hmm. That's a mental health issue. Years ago we would recognize this and say, you don't need to do that. This is unhealthy for you. The cutting, all kinds of stuff. Now we pay for it and we enable it. For anybody in the United States that wants to cut body parts off, we will pay for it in Colorado. So we have to address that because that affects insurance, healthcare. But the reason they're taking the money away is nobody wants to talk about the real issue, which is the overbearing mental health issue that's collapsing our state.
Go from a legislative perspective and what you can do as governor. What can be done to improve our state as a great place for fitness, health, and well-being for Coloradans of all ages?
Well, this is one of the things that I love the most about Colorado, is that we're truly an outdoor state, we're an exercise state, we're a fitness state. I absolutely love that. I've always been a gym rat. I'm a mountain biker. I love to golf. So getting outdoors to me is necessary. There's a lot of things that come along with that. Some of the things we have to do, though, is we have to stop. This goes into the illegal immigrant crime population, the homeless population. I used to love coming to downtown Denver. I'd bring my kids down here when they were in junior high. They're all grown now. And we'd walk around and bicycle and all kinds of things around downtown. And now that's a very dangerous prospect. Almost every weekend, somebody's getting stabbed on 16th Street Mall. That's unhealthy. The first thing we've got to do is we've got to shut down crime. And of course, that involves the Venezuelan crime cartel that has been allowed to set up in Aurora by the mayor of Aurora, our governor, and our legislative body. It's actually even being financially propped up. And so we've got to shut this stuff down. And not just in Denver, but the crimes all across the state of Colorado. Car theft, #1 in the nation, that happens in rural communities. Well, this puts people in danger when they're just trying to walk around the community and get out and exercise. And so we've got to start there, and then there's multiple layers of things we can do after that.
Well, thanks. In terms of financial and consumer issues, the legislature is tackling major consumer safety issues as technology rapidly evolves and changes, such as putting guardrails on when businesses and governments use AI to make major decisions that impact people. What's your philosophy on balancing consumer rights and technological innovation?
Well, this is something very unique to my campaign compared to all of the other governor candidates.
Sure.
I have an extremely competent AI team. Some of these guys are leading AI conversations around the United States. We've already submitted a bill to the legislative legal body they're still working on how this works, but I can give you a basic idea of it.
Sure.
The finished version will be a little different. But right now it's a personhood bill having specifically to do with AI. In other words, you have the property right of yourself,
Okay.
that you own you. And this includes, and I put a bunch of stuff in the bill, it includes your fingerprints, your retinas. Retinas are becoming a lot involved into the future in some of this. This also is going to include your voice, images of you, and actually avatars of you. And this will be enforceable in criminal court, and this will be enforceable in civil court, both of them, that I own me and you cannot use me to undermine me or anyone else. And so there's a lot of other things when it comes to AI. We do believe human innovation is going to be a key to this. Human innovation has always stepped up in the history of our technological advances in our country. And so we're excited about some of the things that's going to be happening with this.
Thanks. And groups like AARP consistently hear from members that rising utility costs pose affordability challenges for Coloradans on fixed incomes. Additionally, inadequate heating and cooling can cause significant health risks for older Coloradans, for all of us when it's too. Right, but as governor, how would you balance competing interests, clean energy targets, data centers with big demand, and ensure affordable utilities for older Coloradans?
Well, our utility arena right now, specifically electricity, has been under attack by the legislature for about 7 or 8 years, very, very intentionally under attack. We passed a bill a couple years ago that there are going to be an entire electric neighborhoods in the state of Colorado. In other words, natural gas cannot come in there. Well, those are very expensive in comparison to natural gas. We cannot add all these extra costs and then expect there to be affordable housing. I have fought against these initiatives strongly. Also, simple things like the utilities now just came out with a letter, I think a week ago, that they're going to be raising their prices because of this stuff. We are putting all this dependence on solar and wind, and neither solar nor wind has net positive increase. They're being subsidized by the government so strongly that we are throwing money away when we could be putting it into something else. The plan for Colorado in the future has to be a resurgence of coal, oil, and gas, but also small nuclear reactors. My caveat with that is they need to be decided upon, voted upon by the local municipality, not a senator like Senator Ed Lee, good guy out of Utah, but he's trying to just kind of impose these upon national forest, and I don't like that. We're going to have the small nuclear reactors for the data center demands. I was looking at some information a couple weeks ago. Right now, the federal government, to accomplish all of the energy demands that will be in our future in the next couple years to a decade because of AI, is going to cost $500 billion a year. Well, I want Colorado to get ahead of that, and also I want Colorado to be one of the data center headquarters for the entire United States. And we can do this because of our natural rivers and mountains and the cooling and all the stuff that can come along with data centers. But we've got to be pretty aggressive, and as governor, I will be.
Colorado has established the first of its kind Prescription Drug Affordability Review Board, known as the PDAB.
Right.
And it researches and reviews the cost of prescription medications to consumers and can even set upper payment limits on certain medications. Do you support this concept, and how do you plan on further ensuring medication affordability for Coloradans if you're governor?
Yes, I'm not against PDABs, but the problem that comes along, it's not just a clean solution, hey, this will fix all medicine cost or whatever. It does not do that. There's some hitches in it. And one of them is the corruption that we see within. This starts with our state government and works into the insurance companies and works into the pharmaceutical companies. The pharmaceutical companies are not the good guys. They really do harm and hurt a lot of people and a lot of industry across the United States. So then you've got this middle group, the PDABs, that are trying to pull from the corrupt overlords. That's a strong term, and then they're trying to bridge this with the consumer. And so unless we know for sure that they're not in cahoots at all times, then they're actually part of the problem. And I do think they have accomplished some positive things, but I'm very skeptical of the big picture of PDABs. Although I'm not throwing them to the trash yet. I think there's some legitimacy there. But until we get some control and rein in on the big pharmaceuticals, we're going to stay where we are. And then you've got all the elements of competition with Canada, with their system, where they're intentionally flooding our system to try to prove that socialism works, which it doesn't. But that's some of the big picture. That's a big subject to try to explain in a very short time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time too this afternoon.
Thank you.
And hope that viewers have gotten a better idea of one of the candidates for governor. There's lots more out there. Thank you. Please check our interviews with the other 8th Congressional District candidates and candidates for governor, coloradopolitics.com and at AARP Colorado. Thank you for watching, and thanks again, Scott.
Thank you, sir.